Welcome to Growing Pains, a podcast of the Sumner County Republican Freedom Caucus. I'm your host, Deanne DeWitt. We talk a lot about growth and all those challenges, but today we're going to talk about what keeps people rooted here and what brings them back. Our guests today, Jacyn Abbott and Jamie Abbott. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for inviting us. Yes, happy to be here.
Well, I am sure we will have a lot of fun talking. So I just want you to sit back, relax, enjoy your cup of coffee, and we're going to talk about all things Sumner County and this great effort you guys are working on. So
we're excited to talk about it.
All right.
Start routing off the questions. Let's go.
Let's go. Okay, so tell me why you think Sumner County is worth investing in. Let's start with kind of this big picture of, there's a lot of people moving here. There's a lot of people staying here. Grateful that there are people that are coming back.
Yeah.
So what makes you want to invest in your future here?
Well, I would say this. We don't want to invest just in our future. We want to invest in the community's future. For me personally, I grew up in a small town in Ohio, moved here after college to Nashville, not Gallatin, but was lucky enough to meet my husband who did grow up in Gallatin. From there, we left for the military. He was in the Air Force and decided that when he was able to, we wanted to come back and raise our children here, which we did. And it has been a dynamite community, a dynamite opportunity. And so what we want personally, me and my husband, is we want that to continue on for generations. We want there to be generational families here, and we want new people to come and feel like they can contribute to the greatness of the community as well.
Exactly. And so maybe rather than answering that specific question, Jacyn, your story is awesome. It is like the quintessential. Yes, quintessential. What Mom was just talking about and why we're so invested in this community. It's because we want to create opportunity for those that are like you. You're a young professional. You were off in North Carolina. I know you were a news anchor for a period of time. I want to hear more about your story. But let's start with the question of, what brings you back? Why did you want to come back?
I always joke around and say that I'm a Velcro child. I am very close to my parents. I'm very close to my younger sister. And I was lucky enough to grow up in a community where my grandparents on both sides were less than 4 miles away from me at all times. Now, sounds overwhelming for a lot of people, but it was one of the biggest blessings that I could ever get. And I realized how rare it was to have a family that was so close-knit in a community that is also as close-knit. I think that I'm lucky to be a second generation Sumner County girl, but I know that there's families that are 6, 7, 8, maybe 10 generations in of living here and being here. And the county itself being often referred to as a suburb of Nashville is evolving into its own place. And lots of families are moving here. Right. And as I mentioned before, with the family that I've got here, I want my kids to be able to grow up the same way, which was a huge reason why I came home after going away for college in Alabama, moving to North Carolina, almost going back to Alabama. There's something very special about home.
Yeah. Well, and for you, it does have those layers of things that bring you home just because of the community, but your family. Think about maybe your peers too, peers that that have come back. What do you think you see common in their story of who is choosing to build their next chapter of life here, or why,
I think that people see a real opportunity here, where Sumner County as a whole is at, I don't want to say a weird stage, but it's growing. We all know it's growing. And there's opportunity to set roots here and either make a name for yourself or vice versa, preserve, essentially, and keep the character that's attracted so many for so long. And it is a great place to grow up. There's so many memories.
Did something in particular just come to mind?
No, you just have your normal flashbacks to high school and middle school and everything else, and you're like, oh, were they really that great? Or is that just the normal growing pains of life?
Right.
But there's such an opportunity to evolve this community into something that's even more special than it already is. And a lot of people see that. And then there's also lots of family businesses that have been here forever. And lots of businesses are moving here, moving their headquarters here.
Right.
There's just such opportunity for lots of growth in a positive manner.
Well, and that's kind of at the you're getting to the root of why we've started this podcast and why we've kind of started this movement, because we are at such an important inflection point where things are shifting into a different gear, and there's a lot of questions and concerns about how do you lead through all of this. So Jamie, when you think about, how connected you are to the community, you've already touched on, how important that is to you. Are there certain things that maybe surprise you about how it's evolved, or maybe delight you, and as you've seen how this community has evolved over the last many years, or even just in the more recent years, something that stands out? Anything that stands out?
So I'm going to go back to a real draw for us to come back home, Jacyn's home, but certainly now mine. The people, and I don't know how to put it more simply. There is such a great character of personality in Sumner County, from a huge echelon of socioeconomic, what drives your business, what business that you do. I mean, it's people. It is, and that sounds so dang cliche, and I hate that, but I do think that there are genuinely caring people on all aspects that want good for the community. Now, what that good looks like looks different to everybody, and that I certainly realize. And I'm certainly not here to push what I think is best. There's generations before me that know more historically, and then there's generations that'll come after me that will be able to contribute so much more. So, but I love that there is a collaboration of thoughts and purpose and drive to continue, hopefully, to continue in a positive trajectory for the grander big.
Yeah, the greater good is at the heart of a lot of what we're working on. And
so very well said.
Good job.
Well, give me time. I'll mess it up.
Yeah, no. Isn't it always great to get compliments from your kids? I mean, let's just have this little sidebar conversation. But when one of my girls says something to me, Mom, you did that well. Oh, must have done it really well.
I'm very lucky. I am very lucky. I have two great girls. So yes, I try not to. Brag.
I didn't mean to throw you off your game there.
I know, you totally did.
Yeah. No, you don't pick favorites either, right?
Oh, no, I do.
Oh.
I totally pick favorites. You can ask either one of my girls. It depends on who my favorite is at that point. It could change back and forth. But no, I do pick favorites.
Okay. Well, okay, there's a whole nother podcast episode on
super
parenting and mothering.
Like, there's no such thing as no favorites.
Okay, you're probably right. But like I said, okay, we're going to save that for another podcast episode. I'm going to have to prepare myself for that conversation. The Freedom Caucus, right, that sponsors this podcast, we have this tagline of preserving our legacy, protecting our future. And I know you just kind of touched on some of that. Anything else that comes to mind when you hear that? Preserving our legacy. Like, what is our legacy? Protecting our future. Like, are there certain key things that really kind of pop to mind about what that might mean?
When I hear that, I think there's such importance in that tagline. And I think the importance is preserving the legacy. And I believe that we all fear a little bit of the idea of losing what has created this great area. What has created the people, what has created the welcoming, and I really feel like that is, that word legacy is important, and it shouldn't be dismissed. And I say that because, and we'll probably get into this new platform that we've initiated, but I say that too because I also think the future is really important. I think you can gain so much insight from experience of people that maybe have relocated here, like me. I mean, I'm from a really small town, and I love that town with all my heart, but this is what it reminds me of here. So I think those two things are so very important, and they can collaborate together as opposed to working apart.
I second that. I will say, even in just normal conversations, being out and about networking, anything like that, when you run into the people that have moved here, have moved their families here, more often than not, they want to contribute in the best way possible that they can. They're looking for ways to get plugged in. And so protecting that character, like you said, that legacy, more oftentimes than not, everybody that I've met that's moved here from California, everybody gets mad at me say the word California, but they were attracted here because that's what they want for their families. So I think that there is an effort to protect that legacy and figure out how to contribute to it at the same time. But again, such a good name of a podcast. There's going to be some growing pains with that. And so, like she said, we're no position to tell you how to think, what to think by any means. But to get the conversation going is a huge goal.
Well, an important part, obviously, of protecting that future is having an environment where everyone's views are heard, where the community comes together to define what we want to be in the future, and using that legacy as a launching point. And so I think we're going to talk more about this effort now, because I think local elections make a big impact on anything that we're doing. And it's easy to overlook that. There's a lot of things I can say about this. In Tennessee,
there's a lot of things I can say about it too.
Be really confusing.
Yeah.
And I'm just, for one, very grateful that there's an effort to help spread this very basic message around Sumner votes. So can either or both of you kind of just give me the kind of the core issue? What was like the core reason that this you think this is needed?
Because it is absolutely pathetic that we have such a low voter turnout for local votes.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, and this is the reality. And like, your local elections have the largest impact on your day-to-day life. That's it. It's period. I'm all about voting on everything. I love the big elections too, but your local elections are going to drive your everyday life, and people forget to turn out. Now, I say that carefully because I think as we have graduated into so many different media platforms, it's confusing to know what is going on. And to your point, Tennessee voting can be a little bit overwhelming. But the big point, we shouldn't have a population of less than 15% that shows up to vote. And so how can we encourage people to vote locally? And look, there's some responsibility that comes with that, because if you're going to vote locally, then you're going to pay a little bit more attention to what you're voting on. And that's okay. That's the important part. We're not telling you how to vote. We're just saying, as a community whose core is based on the legacy we spoke of earlier, and the core is the people and the people that make up that community, well, then as a community, we need to vote for the leaders that represent your most important issue.
Yeah. And our investment. I mean, of course, our homes and the property values, everything this hinges on these leadership decisions.
We say all the time, and you've got 15% of the population voting and 85% of the population complaining.
Oh, yeah.
It's harsh, but it's true.
But it's true. I mean, I think any of us can go onto Hip Gallatin, Hip Hendersonville on Facebook, and immediately, I mean, the ice storm is the most recent thing, just complaints and complaints and complaints. But at that same time, how many people did we see that went out and showed up for the community? Like, the help is there. The want is there. Yeah. Like, people are willing to step up to the plate and help and show up. So we're just asking people to do that at the polls. And this is a resource for that. This is not a this, that, this, the other. It's very nonpartisan. I have been saying this to everybody. I worked in local news. I work in sales now. I was baiting for your view on the show, and now I'm baiting for you as a client. Trust me, I'm not going to tell you how to vote or what to do or in any of that in the regard. But it's good to be informed. It's like any big decision you make, buying a house, buying a boat, moving, you research it. And we're asking people to do that.
And show up. Yeah. Show up, because it's hard. Everybody's busy. And that, I believe, is really true. I think, you get a break, you get some time, you're talking to your neighbor, and we don't understand why we have so many fast food restaurants and not so many local mom and pops. When you dig into that, you can figure out why that comes to be. The tax structure, people don't necessarily understand, and it's complicated, and nobody wants to do that in their spare time, and I get it. I am so with you. But the reality is that's what's affecting our everyday life. your school board, your city politicians, your county politicians, your state politicians. I mean, your circuit court judge, it's all there. Your sheriff. Right. They're really important people in our community. They lead us in the direction that hopefully as a large group we want to go forward in, and they protect us from having things taken from us.
Right.
And it's easy to vote now. It is easy. It's hard to find out the information that you want. And that is where this comes from.
Yes, totally. I mean, I think your website is awesome because it really, it just simplifies what a voter needs to understand. The dates, the locations, and then having all the candidate information in one place. I mean, I know that's part of what you're getting to. It's really hard, especially in local elections, to find out anything about candidates. How do you research your candidates? And, it might not have every detail, but it's giving voters a really valuable starting point.
And all the candidates have the ability to contact us and say, hey, this is the platform I'm running on. Here's my headshot. This is what you can put in there. It's very open.
And that's what we want.
And that's what we want because that gives them the opportunity, the equal opportunity to voice what they're running for. And then this in turn obviously gives the voter equal opportunity to weigh pros and cons of what's important to them and what's not. And also you can see if you're even registered to vote, which most people don't even realize because it slips through the cracks. Let's say you do move here. For me, example, moving back, this state gave me my driver's license. I moved to North Carolina, I get registered there, I come back here and they're like, hey, you can't just update your stuff online, you've got to go in person. Like there is an effort that has to be made. And sometimes that effort, when you've got everyday life, everything else going on, it slips through the cracks. But this is that resource to help you out.
And you're kind of touching on a point that's specific maybe too with your, not specific, but it's amplified, I think, for a younger generation because you are at a stage of life where there are so many things coming at you and, you get a few years beyond and, people who are young families, they have so much on their plate to do that these details are things that get lost in the shuffle quite easily. So do you have any specific thoughts about the younger population and, how maybe this can just some ideas about how you get the younger population to lock and load on the idea that this is a lifelong responsibility?
I know that I can't speak for everybody, but from my point of view, I would say that I feel lucky that so many people around me my age are in tune with what's going on and want to be a part of what's going on. See that there's a need to step up and want to have the ability to form their opinion and go act on it. I will say that that's been a very strong message that I've received across the board. So it's going to be exciting to see the many young couples that move from Nashville to quote unquote suburbia, Hendersonville, Gallatin, Franklin, wherever they want to go and start their families and start contributing to their local communities that way.
But I would argue this too. We say, how do we get the younger voter involved? How do we get the middle-aged voter involved? Right. I mean, it is an inaccurate assessment to say that it is the younger generation that's not voting because I would argue that that's just not true. It's my age, middle, we're looking at 15% of the population voting. Every single age group can improve.
Is struggling, right?
Yes. And that sounded like I was yelling at someone. That's not the point. The point is the passion behind voting, trying to come up with an area that you can go to, you can find out the information that you want on all of the candidates. From there, you can dig in. And quite frankly, maybe that social media is not your platform for your information. Sure. And I don't think that social media is bad. And I know that it's an incredibly useful tool. Everybody is there. They have to use it. But you also have to understand that your social media is going to run through the tunnel of what you're attracted. Attracted to. I don't know that that's the right word, but
there is a word for it, and I can't think of it right now. But I know what you're talking about.
And so this is just to be like, hey, check this out with nobody's opinion attached to it, and see if there's a direction that you would like to head. If you feel like there are things that we can do better, we are happy to do it. Again, we're not here to tell people how to vote. We're just here to say, can we collectively as a community know with confidence that our residents care about the future, what happens here locally?
Yeah. And I would say that even initiatives in other states and other counties have seen huge improvement One in Huntsville specifically, they started it there, and it has grown tremendously. There's one in Wilson County. We've been talking with the chamber and officials in Robertson County, and they're for it. So I think that hopefully we're going to see lots of traction, which is what's exciting, and just, I guess, reigniting the flame for community.
Big collective lift. And you started to talk about this too, Jamie, about just this, the business community. There really is, there's an onus and responsibility there too, to encourage involvement in this civic process. And I think, what you're creating is content that people can just really use to influence that sphere of influence, whether it's their employees or their customers or whoever they engage with. But it's part of that civic duty as a business owner, I think.
I do believe that is accurate across the board. I do think Sumner County is very lucky in our business owners, and I am a very, very small business owner, but I would say that voting locally has always been a big deal. So under the roof of my office space, everybody gets to go vote. Like it's, you don't have to work around your schedule, go. It's your civic duty, go vote. As a business owner, it's my civic duty to encourage that vote too. Not influence it, but encourage it.
Participation. Yes.
I think locally, again, it gets back to the point. Do people really know what dates are coming up? Are they getting convoluted? Our business owners, both small and large, our franchise owners, we have a lot of local businesses here that go across the spectrum in terms of size. Communicating and hoping that they will sign up is what we're calling the first 100, that is just saying, hey, yes, we will share your information with our employees. We will post this beautiful poster on our window. We want people to start asking questions where they can get the information that they need. We're asking for 100 business owners or people just to say, yes, there's no charge. There's no anything. We give you all of the advertising media that you need. We just want it to be shared more.
Right.
Because just like when people talk about terrible things and it spreads through communities quickly, let's talk about a great thing and let it spread through the community quickly. And let's try to get that voter turnout up. And a big one coming up, you've got to be registered by April 6th. Because if you are not registered by April 6th, then you forego the remainder of the voting.
I feel like I'm going to double check right now. Am I good?
Well,
sorry, I just coughed in.
No, that by the time this airs, it'll probably be after April 6th, but it's going to happen again and again. And I think that's one of the other things. When I talk to neighbors and friends who are, kind of interested in learning about stuff, I feel like they always kind of gapingly stare back at me like 3 times. I have to go vote 3 times this year. I'm like, yeah. And each one's going to have a major consequence, and that's just the reality of elected office right now in Sumner County. Right now in Sumner County, I know every elected official is a Republican. That very well may change over the course of this next year, and we'll see how things unfold. But what that means, though, is that a primary, which is what happens in May, is so important. And so the work that our PAC is doing to get good candidates involved and show up and be involved, that county primary has big consequences. But then back to your point about registration, there's going to be an August general election. And so I know that there are definitely more candidates across the spectrum of the ballot this year than there have been in many years past. So that general election in August is, again, going to have major consequences. It's also the governor's primary, right? So there'll be another registration deadline between now and August, I think is where I was, playing off what your comment was. We've got a lot of opportunities, and then November.
Yeah.
So
no, and all I was going to say, and that's where this becomes a resource, a helping hand. I was at a BNI group just speaking as a guest. There was a judge that was running. He got up before me. He said, "Hi, my name is, and I'm running for this position. It's the first position he's going to be the first election for the position in the county entirety." And I have to get up there after him. And of course, everyone assumes are they associated? Are they together? And I'm like, "Hi, no, we're not together, but we're going to work in collaboration," because I asked who in this room didn't know that he was running for a position that's going to be elected on the first time. Everybody in the room had no idea. And I said, that's what this is for, because it is going to be a crazy season of voting and figuring out what's going on and in the midst of, obviously, the fall season. So that's what this is. It's a resource so that you can be informed and you can do your own research and you can move forward and have confidence as you would with anything else that you choose in your life.
Yeah.
And the whole overwhelming, because it can be, especially this year, there is a lot going on. And I understand that it can be overwhelming. But I would say this. We don't have a huge voter turnout. You really walk in, you vote, and you leave. It is less than 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Would we love to change that? Absolutely. But that's where it is. The time that it takes you to vote is very minimal.
Yeah.
The time that it takes you to figure out what is happening in your specific community and who to vote for, that takes a little more work or mindset. And that's where this can be a resource.
Yeah.
And it is. You've got 2 primaries, and then you've got the general elections after that, and then you have the nonpartisan election. There's a lot, but it's all things that I think as a community resident and a lover of the community, you would want to be a part of. So then if you decide you have something bad to say, you can say, yes, I did vote.
I can't have an opinion because I cast mine.
Right.
I can't have one because I cast it.
That should be, that's a great tagline too. You know, I'm entitled to my opinion because I participated in the process. It's pretty simple. I mean, all of this is really simple and it's really catchy. It's beautiful. I think it catches at people's attention and I really think it's going to make an impact. I'm excited to see how this unfolds.
Well, we've been very lucky. There's lots of community members that have already stepped up and helped us out with everything from the posters that you see to collecting names for the first 100 to spreading the name. We are not sitting here, just the 2 of us, doing this all by ourselves. Like
Jennifer Brown, our fearless leader.
Yes. And Brandy King, who has just been out there as being like, have you heard? Have you heard? Have you heard? But we couldn't do it without the rest of the community as well. This is not by any means just resting on our shoulders. There is a huge crowd on both sides of the aisle that are like, let's do it. What can we do and how can we do it?
And that, I think, is we really want to drive home this again. We don't represent a party. We want to drive that home. Because that is going to be everyone's first instinct, is to assume that this is not exactly what it's meant to be. It is meant to be, it's meant to increase voter turnout and collaboration, conversation, and vision.
I was talking with Trey Hargett, our Secretary of State, recently, and he was admitting, for as exceptional as our election integrity is, where we fall short when it comes to national rankings, we're in the bottom 10 of states in terms of voter turnout. Now, his point, and I think this bears repeating, so I'm glad we're kind of talking about this again on the show, that if every person who has voted brings one person, well, we can go from being in the bottom 10 to the top 10 really quick. In fact, we could be the top. So it's not unachievable. And it is just, it takes a wake-up call, right? So I think this is just a fantastic kind of public service announcement that once everybody, give them something cool to look at and then say, oh, yeah, I guess I should go vote. So it is simple.
And I'll know the dates. So yes, if you could join us, if you could help us distribute, if you could help us remind neighbors and friends, again, just to vote, get out and vote. Show your community that you love it by participating in the direction it has.
Your website is sumnervotes.com. I know it's right there. Email is info at sumnervotes.com. Okay, for more information. And truly a rock star team. So you two, Jennifer Brown with Cumberland Electric, if viewers don't know her, they need to, because
they need to. They do. ASAP.
And Brandy King, she's just an incredible community servant too. All of you are, and it's really cool what you're doing. So thank you for spending time talking about this. Thank you for coming to visit,
and thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you for sharing your platform with us. So hopefully, even the groups that are associated with PACs that know they already vote, they'll remind their friends and family, and not. Excuse me for stumbling on my words. Not be afraid to remind their friends and family to also participate.
Yeah, isn't it?
Best thing about a vote is it's a secret. Nobody has to know. So
totally true.
Yeah.
totally true. All right, ladies, you are awesome. Thank you for your time. We'll see you again.
Thank you. Thanks, Dan.